they will be able to recognize the so-called pattern recognition. For example, if I see, let us say I am seeing this mic here. So when I see mic here, if at all I am appropriately trained, if I am a third class student or a fourth class student, once I come across this particular object, I should not see this as some kind of any other routine material at all. I have to immediately think that there is something like a cylindrical shape here, there is something like a triangular shape here, there is something like a ovoid shape here, a three-dimensional ovoid, and also a three-dimensional cylindrical thing, and there is an angle here, obtuse angle. So like that, once I see something, it should provide me immediately some kind of a scientific perspective out of it. So this particular scientific computational thinking must be seen against the heuristic thinking. The heuristic thinking, whatever our parents, whatever our grandparents told, that you should see only outwardly, only macroscopically. You should not go into the depth of the system and all. That will not provide us enough amount of knowledge about the systems, about the resources with which we will be able to harness them, so that the people will be benefited by its powerfulness. So that way, so we have to make the students to think in terms of patterning and also what are the patterns available in the system they come across. Then once the pattern is there, pattern means nothing but it has to be, the pattern has to be linked to some kind of known features, like structures. The structures are always in terms of numbers and all. So you should be able to associate a number or maybe some data to the pattern whatever you are seeing. That is called the data interpretation. For example, if I see here, so what is the area of cross section? What is the length of this particular cylindrical object? What is the length of this? What is the angle of this and all? So this kind of data will provide me whether I will be able to make it into an acute angle, I will be able to make it to obtuse angle, can I make it to 180 degrees? By making it to 180 degrees, can I make it to perform better and all? So this kind of data interpretation also must be part of the training. So the computational training involves the students to be empowered with data interpretation. Data has to be acquired, and also what are the trends in the data must also be possible for them. They should be able to see some kind of symmetry, some kind of interdependence, logical patterning in the data. Then the so-called algorithmic thinking. You know that algorithmic thinking itself is also a logical thinking, a systematic thinking. Like in computers, you have got a content tax, there is a grammar for any computation operation, there is a flow chart. So in terms of the flow chart, one by one, systematic structural approach you are just going by, you call it as an algorithmic thinking. The students at that early age onwards must be empowered, or must be equipped, or must be trained to visualize the algorithmic thinking. And also, by this, the previously mentioned powers or so-called strengths, they should be in a position to be creative. They should be in a position to be innovative. So new technologies and new solutions and new ideas must be emerging or sprouted from the knowledge whatever they have gained from this particular computational thinking pattern. So once they become creative and innovative, they will be able to discuss these ideas with the colleagues, or with the teachers, or with the fellow students, or with their parents, or once they are actually meeting maybe in the playground and all, they should be able to discuss with their friends. So during that discussion, whatever they have learned in the classroom, whatever they have understood by this so-called 4 or 5 methods of logical thinking and all, they will be able to refining their own knowledge. With that refinement, they will be able to do in what way I have to apply this knowledge for the society or for the real world around me. So what should not I do? What should I do? So the do's and don'ts will also be associated with that. So that way the ethical awareness also will be coming along with. Then the CBS, can I have a bit of water?